Welcome back to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's Wednesday Wisdom guest, but we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, We Coach, and the global community of women in high school sports. These are two great organizations you really need to be a part of. Go ahead and check out We Coach and the global community of women in high school sports. Now, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise for their support of the podcast. Go to snapraise.com and check out all the services that their platform provides. From a fundraising standpoint, SnapRaise is fantastic. Our coaches actually use SnapRaise, and it was great. As an athletic director, I knew what was going on, but I didn't have to be involved. There's no upfront cost. Your data is secure. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually raise it. Go to snapraise.com and see how they have helped schools just like yours raise thousands and thousands of dollars. Choosing the right fundraising game plan is critical, and you can start a fundraiser that works for you by going to snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. At my schools, we use surveys for just about everything, for teachers, for coaches, for kids, and for parents. And the information that we got back was almost always over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. But the surveys also allowed that squeaky wheel parent to vent a little bit, and sometimes they'd share a small issue that you could address and keep it from turning into a big issue because you didn't know about it, because you hadn't done a survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the pros at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to huddle.com. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Over 200,000 teams use Huddle to help their teams and their athletes perform better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just love the mobile apps, the smart cameras. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle is also built for every level of play. If you're a club or a youth coach, all the way through high school and colleges, everyone's benefiting from Huddle. Go to huddle.com and you're going to find a professional grade solution for all of your challenges as an athletic director. We believe in sports, and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. They'll show you how to set up and start selling your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan your attendees and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you're going to have a dedicated client success manager that provides hands-on support. That's hands-on support. Go to hometownticketing.com. They'll also show you how to set up and take digital tickets for things like school dances, school plays, music concerts, even graduation. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating custom branded content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. Go to gipper.com and use the podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's gipper.com. Start creating world-class marketing content. And we want to thank Final Forms, the industry leader in forms and registration. But there's so much more than that. Go to Final Forms and see how they can help your stakeholders with things like mobile apps, with policies, with reminders about physicals and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. It's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support. Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards not only generate revenue for your department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and see exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. That's sidelineinteractive.com, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Check them out. You'll really be impressed. And we want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a cool way to display your school's record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or shoot them an email at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We've got a repeat guest. Today, we're going to be visiting with Dr. Cathy Utzschneider. Dr. Utzschneider is a lead faculty member at Boston College's Sport Leadership Program. She was on a few weeks ago and shared a little bit about her background, tremendous coaching background, both as an athlete and as a coach, and also some of the things that she's doing at Boston College. So we're excited to have her back. And I get asked the question, Dr. Utzschneider, what do you have for us this week on Wednesday Wisdom?
Well, first of all, thrilled to be here again with you and your fantastic audience. Here's what I'd like to talk about today. And it relates to my area of research, expertise, my work with clients, which is all about setting goals in athletics, in our careers, and in our lives as a whole. And that is the topic of the importance of preparedness, planning, and being prepared. And I guess I chose this topic because we all can relate to it. We all need to be prepared, and being prepared is the difference between success or super success and maybe managing the present, but maybe with more bumps than you'd have if you weren't prepared, right? So I guess it was Ben Franklin who said that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And I was reminded of this. I teach sports leadership at Boston College and coaching for high performance. I've taught there for almost 20 years, and I'm fascinated by my students' experience with the preparation phase of setting goals. And on the topic of preparation, my goal-setting methodology, just to help those in the audience think about setting their own goals, it begins with a phase that no other goal-setting method does, and that is preparing for goals. Because the second phase is setting goals. So it's preparing goals, setting goals, managing goals, and then evaluating goal achievement. And the problem with a lot of goals, and the reason people avoid them like the plague because they're afraid of failing, is that they don't prepare enough. they don't set the stage. And setting the stage for whatever anyone in the audience wants to achieve, it's essential to take time away from the office of being athletic director, the field, the track, the court, whatever. And it's very helpful, research has shown, to set goals at the same time every week, to prepare for goals at the same time every week, and to set them in the same place so that you're focused on them. And the preparation for weeks and so forth ahead was, it struck me, I had to have many guest speakers in my courses. And one of the more recent ones was Earl Grant, who's BC's basketball coach. And he talked about not so much just sitting down at the same time every week, but also, and he stressed, keeping a little notebook, I'll hold one up, where he keeps records of what he does every day, notes about his plans for the day, his plans for the week. And if you're a coach or an athletic director who's thinking, this is a really good job I have right now, but I want to go to the next step, it's having a little notebook, as I showed you mine, I keep one, where you write down your thoughts and your values and how you're living your values each day and each week. It makes you ready for a job opening when it comes. And keeping these records, the reason I coach people in goal achievement is that it's hard to do it without being accountable to someone else so that you actually do it, okay? And Earl told the story of, at one point, he was coaching basketball, and, as happens, he got an invitation to another college to interview the next day. He, because of all his notes, his record keeping, and his habits, the next day he was in with the board who was hiring, and he had a folder for each person on that board with copies of his main points, because he had taken all his notes, and above and beyond that, it had their name on it. So it would say Jake or Cathy or whatever. And he said that alone convinced them that here was someone who always, on a daily and weekly basis, he valued preparation. So we get used to often, getting caught up in a world of acting. We have no time, we get all the phone calls and the texts, whatever. But having a record book to be prepared with your thoughts, keeping a calendar with your goals, it helps ground you, and it helps you be prepared for whatever comes along the way. Because if we don't do that, and I'm saying preparation by keeping a journal notebook or a calendar where you write down main thoughts of the day, very few thoughts. You don't have to write like an Anne Frank's diary or whatever. You write something short. But it's the difference between not having perspective on where we are, and having perspective. Because we're always juggling all right, where are we today? Where are we this week? Where are we this month? Where are we this year? And that discipline of setting aside time is incredibly powerful. I know this coming week, Mark Mangiacotti, has been a sprint coach at Harvard for many years, he's coming and to speak. And he also, keeps a little journal where he records everything from his practices. And he says that he has them for years of coaching track. So I can't recommend that enough as a simple discipline and something that is key to remembering. We don't remember otherwise. We don't remember I can't remember what happened last Wednesday. I got to think about that, right? Wait a minute, what happened? And I find this so powerful. I'll tell you another realm in which I find this powerful is and I've been a master's athlete, and I keep notes on when I was running, it related to running. Now I'm playing a sport called paddle tennis. And I keep notes about how to hit the ball off the screens. It's a combination of racquetball, not really pickleball, but racquetball and tennis, I guess I would say. And everyone wants to improve, and I'm preparing to improve. So I keep very, very short notes of how I'm going to do that. And it's paid off. I'm remembering what I'm doing and I'm advancing in the sport. So what does that make you think of, Jake? Can you, what are you thinking about as I talk about preparedness?
Well, no, you probably saw me scribbling down notes.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to butcher this. You were great with the Ben Franklin, attribution. Talking about, the preparing process. They talk about the successful people, dreams or wishes, and they're just in your head, but a goal, that's something you write down. There's a plan. And I loved how you talked about a good goal. There's someone or something that you're accountable to. And I can look back, in my own career, whatever, maybe accomplishments I might have had, or kids or coaches that I've
Sure.
worked with. Certainly, the more successful ones, they followed that. They articulated, what their dream was. They spoke it out loud, but then they took those next steps and wrote it down. They had a plan. They were accountable to a parent or a teammate or a coach. So absolutely, I think that preparing for success, you can't be successful. It just doesn't happen. You've got to
Right.
prepare and plan for it.
Right. And you say the word wish, and I always say that there's a difference between two four-letter words that begin with W, wish and work.
Exactly.
It's very easy just to think about things as opposed to work to write things down. And I'll say one other thing that I found. I coach many coaches in all different sports. I was just speaking with a high school soccer coach last week, and he's having his players prepare for their goals by writing down their goals on index cards. And he said, "Oh, Cathy, it's not happening. Actually, we lost this game, and I feel like a failure." And I said, "JP, listen, the whole point about achieving our goals, we need to have perspective on them. But all the experts on expertise say that, excellence is achieved over, 5 to 10 years or
Right.
10,000 hours. So don't look for instant success when you're thinking about the importance of preparation or anything, as you know, but think about just focus on the process. And once you build the process in, the habit in, that's what's key. But you do need to make it important. So if you're an AD or a coach or someone in athletics operations or marketing, you're thinking about, well, this would be a good idea, but I'm not implementing it, or I don't want to hire a coach. I want to just do it myself. One thing you can do, you who are listening, is you can have a buddy system with another person and say, look, we're going to meet every, I don't know, Sunday at 4:00, and we're just going to spend 20 minutes. Each of us gets 10 minutes each. And we're going to tell the week coming up, and then we're going to set our goals together, and we're going to prepare for the main goal, the obstacles coming up, one thing that's challenging that we want to do, something like that. But then you have to have that feedback loop. You have to have the meeting the next week at 4:00, because research has always also shown that people who meet at the same time, it's much more effective than having a roving time at different points. And I'll say one other thing about preparedness. And I was thinking about this when I was talking to my students about a midterm they're taking on Thursday. And they were saying, Professor, we're not used to writing things down by hand anymore, preparing for anything by hand. We type everything on the computer, right? And it's very true, however, that we remember more of what we write down with our hands than we do when we type on the computer. And that struck me as interesting. We have one of the people in my MOVE community who sets goals is the former quarterback of Boston College, who was a wide receiver and quarterback briefly for the Steelers. And then he went to coach at the Miami Dolphins, and now he's coaching at BC. And he said, Cathy, when we want the football players to remember all the different plays in the formations, we always make them draw it by hand. They can't do it on the computer because we know they'll remember it more if they write it down with their hand. So prepare with a pen or pencil. How's that? That's what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. As a longtime classroom teacher, health educator in middle school and in high school, I had those students write it down, that kinesthetic effect and auditory. Exactly. They were hearing me talk. They were hearing another student talk. They were seeing it up on the board, all those things. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm right there with you on that. Cathy, always very cool to spend time with you. I wish we had more. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, and listeners, you really need to do this. Check out Dr. Utzschneider's website. She is a tremendous resource for you as an AD and for your coaching staff. Cathy, how can they get in touch with you?
They can email www.movegoals.com. And they can also go to the www.movegoals.com website. So they'll find contact information there.
Beautiful. Movegoals.com, just like it sounds, movegoals.com. Dr. Cathy Utzschneider, Boston College. Thanks so much for spending time with us today, and all the best as those temperatures start to drop.
I know, you can see it's cool. And I thank you, Jake, and I thank every listener who's listening today. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing with us. For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews all get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back next Wednesday for another Wednesday Wisdom, and just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Once again, we couldn't do this without the help of our great sponsors. Thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. Go to finalforms.com/Jake. Final Forms is there for your stakeholders, for your coaches, and for you as an athletic director. That's finalforms.com/Jake. We also want to say thanks to SnapRaise. Go to snapraise.com or their main website on snap.com and check out their platform. From a fundraising standpoint, SnapRaise can't be beat. Our coaches used it and it was just fantastic. Go to snapraise.com, see how they can help your school raise thousands and thousands of dollars. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes or your coaches, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com and their dedicated client success manager will show you how to start selling your tickets online. That's hometownticketing.com. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Go to huddle.com and see how they can turn your school into a Huddle school. Mobile apps, smart cameras, analytics. Go to huddle.com and become a Huddle school. We want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or shoot them an email at sales@sidelineinteractive.com and see what their products can do for you. Indoor scoring tables and video boards, sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how schools are creating world-class marketing content for their social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com, use the podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. And we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Their touchscreen consoles and templates are a great way for you to display your school record boards and your school's Hall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. Once again, we appreciate you listening to Wednesday Wisdom. Come back just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another Wednesday Wisdom. Don't forget our podcast partners, We Coach, and the global community of women in high school sports. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.